I want to talk to you today, though, about our second reading. St. Paul brings up the notion of courage. When you think about your life of faith, do you find that courage has any part of it? I mean, does your faith involve you being brave? Do you find that it takes guts for you to be a person of faith? For so many of us, if we've just grown up in our faith, around people of the same faith, the answer might be something like, well, I don't know, maybe in little ways. But for others, for those who have converted to the Catholic Church or those who came to faith later in life, the answer is usually going to be something like, definitely, I risked a lot to become Catholic and faced rejection over it. We hear it time and time again, especially as we see our RCIA numbers growing every year. Now, whether we faced it in our own lives or not, St. Paul is making a connection today between faith and courage. When we look at the early martyrs in the church, they bravely and courageously went to their deaths for the Lord. And when we think about modern day Christians around the world, especially in the Middle East and in parts of Africa, who are actively being persecuted and killed for their faith, that takes guts. That takes bravery. And yes, you and I are experiencing, even in our own place and time in God's universe, more misunderstanding and confusion and intolerance in a world that increasingly wants less to do with the Lord. But is our courage just about all these external things, about how the world receives us and how we interact with the world? Or does it go more deeper than that? For example, if the whole world became Catholic tomorrow and everyone would just love and accept each other as Catholics without hesitation, would courage still need to be a part of our faith? St. Paul says yes. Faith and courage are intrinsically united. In our second reading today, St. Paul's talking to the Corinthians. They're having a tough time. And he is talking to them by encouraging them. Encouraging. He's inviting them to be courageous. And what's interesting is that this encouragement to be brave and courageous has little to do with encountering danger or rejection in the world. It has to do with the faith itself. Instead of having to do with something about the act of faith, it's about that interior assent of our wills when we give ourselves over in faith to Christ. Brothers and sisters, he said, we are always courageous. Why? For we walk by faith and not by sight. He's speaking within the context of a discussion that he's having with the Corinthians about the Christian understanding of death. And how when we look towards the reality that waits us all, it takes faith to do that. And yet there is no human person on the face of this planet that can look death in its face and not feel a great sense of trepidation. Not one of us is strong enough to face it, or big enough, or old enough, or wise enough. We are all like cowering children as we face our own mortality. And that's what the Corinthians are dealing with. And that's what St. Paul is writing to them about. And he tells them the good news that Jesus Christ has proposed himself as the victor over death. Now, we can't see this. We don't know how it happens any more than we know how it happens that you put a grain into the ground, a seed, and it turns into a big mustard plant. We don't know. We can't see it. We trust that it happens. And St. Paul is saying the same thing about Jesus. We have heard, and so we believe, that our biggest fear is overcome by him. And it takes guts to believe that. It takes guts to not trust in yourself and to trust in someone whom you cannot see. And this is what he's inviting us all to do. He's telling us to be courageous always. And that means to have faith always. Even if we've never experienced the interior angst over our faith, I bet dollars to donuts that everybody here has experienced some kind of struggle with it. And if you haven't, come and talk to me, because I want to know what your secret is. Because I still struggle with it. No, seriously. The act of faith is a scary, risky thing. And you and I actually change our lives over realities that are difficult to grasp. Life after death, the Trinity, transubstantiation, the virgin birth, the forgiveness of sins. No one is born hardwired to believe these things. Although the truth of them may be instilled in us from childhood, each of us will eventually have to tango with them and with Jesus himself and take the brave step to say, Credo, I believe. Now, contrary to the opinions of certain unbelievers, though, this doesn't mean that our faith is baseless or that we have blind faith. Now, walking by faith and not by sight doesn't mean that we go blind. There are good reasons why we believe what we do, even if we don't always have 100% access to those good reasons all the time. I mean, think about it this way. From the time that I was a child, I was told something pretty big and important, and that's that the earth is round. My parents told me this. My teachers told me this. TV told me this. Scientists told me this. And I just took it as a given, even though I never, ever experienced the roundness of the earth on my own. In fact, I experienced things to the contrary. If I walked out into a field, what do I see? Flat. The world is round? Really? Well, everyone's telling me, so I'm just going to go with it. Until the day that I took my first airplane ride. And guess what? I saw. No longer did I have to just trust what everybody else had told me beforehand. I got to see for myself. And at that point, I didn't need to trust their witness. I could see, and I could go with it. Faith is a lot like that. You and I have been taught, maybe by our parents and grandparents, by the priests, nuns as we were growing up, by the catechism, by the saints, by our parish. How do you know that we're not just pulling something over you? How do we know that we're not just selling you a bill of goods? You don't. Any more than I didn't know that the world was truly round. But there is an act of bravery that is required to make it through everything in this life. You and I don't have the mental capacity to figure everything out and to know everything and to verify it all on our own. We are going to have to take the risk of believing others. And that takes guts. And what you and I proclaim, as it's been proclaimed for 2,000 years, contrary to what could have happened to us, we could have been just demolished hundreds of times throughout the years, and yet still here we are, against all the odds. In 2024, we believe that what the apostles saw, Jesus dead on the cross, 3 days alive, how they had their lives changed, how they gave their lives for him. The truth that they proclaimed, we believe it. Can we see it? No. And that's where the faith comes in, and that's where the bravery comes in, and that's where the courage comes in, and that's what St. Paul is inviting us into. But courage is one of those things that nobody wants to do. We like our fear, and we like controlling our fear. If I have to look into something that I don't understand, I'm just going to walk away from it. That's what I think is what's going on in this world today more than anything else. When you see why our pews are so empty, Is it because everybody's got it all figured out? No. Not any more so than anybody else has in history. It's just scary. And it takes guts to make the step of faith. I give thanks to God for all of you. You're making the step. You're taking the jump. You're risking it. And you know what that does? That helps me to continue doing it. And I hope that it helps each other continue to do it. And I hope that you and I can continue to grow in our trust of one another and in everything that has been handed down to us, and to treasure it, and to love it, and to hand it on, using our own words and using our own experiences to witness to it, but ready to hand it on to another generation, and to let them know that it doesn't come cheap. It's not just going to happen. We've got to be courageous. We've got to take the risk. St. Paul encourages us to do that today. I encourage us to do that today. We all encourage each other to do this until the day when there will be no more need for courage, because there will be no need for faith. We will see God face to face. Until then, let's keep it up. One foot forward, and every day that God gives us, continue to make that little act of courage. Let's pray through the celebration of Mass today that the grace that we need to do this will be given to us.